right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining the Amazon Personalized webinar today with us. We're delighted that you're here. Let's go through some basic housekeeping rules through the session that we all will kind of come together and maintain. All right. So here are a few rules. You will be automatically muted when you join the call. And you can ask any questions in the Zoom chat during the webinar. We will have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar though. The slides and recording will be available after the webinar and will be provided. Moving on, I'll get started with our introduction. I'll begin with mine and then over to the of AspireNXT. I'm Visha. I manage strategic alliances and partnerships here at AspireNXT. Now, who are we? We are about 11-year-old company, and we started our cloud journey about 3 years back. We since then we have expanded into ASEAN as a region, ASEAN and also India. What we do essentially is digital transformation, and we are changing the way the way world does business today. We have over 500 plus customers worldwide, and we have done more than 1,000 projects, and we still continue to grow. Moving on, here are some of our strengths or our services that we provide over the counter. So AI, ML, and data is one of our core strengths and a pillar that we maintain, and we do for most of our customers through. Also, we have built an expertise over the year for cloud migration on cloud. For example, you can see the various services that we provide around cloud. Modern application is another pillar of strength that we have built, and end user services and managed services as well. I'll leave you. All right. Moving on to our competencies. So over the last 3 years, we've had a big team, and they have helped us build core competencies across the board. We've built competencies across Microsoft workloads, Lambda, Redshift, QuickSight, and multiple other verticals. With that, an overview, I would like to pass the mic to the main speaker of the event. And just a quick introduction to him. He has over 15 years of experience in data analytics, 15 years of experience in big data, machine learning, and AI. Sandeep is presently utilizing data and data analytics to evaluate an organization's technical performance and providing recommendations on system enhancement. So over to you, Sandeep, from here. Sandeep, you'll have to unmute.
All right, thanks for that. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, can.
Okay, excellent. So good morning, everyone. My name is Sandeep. As Vishal said, I'm mostly working on the data part with Aspire. I head up the data science and big data practice here, typically helping customers solve complex problems using AI, ML, and of course, setting up their modern data applications and warehouse and so on and so forth. What we will try and understand today is mostly about AWS Personalize and how it's being used and what kind of things we have done so far, right? So of course, in the interest of time, we probably might not be able to get into the depth of what all we have done. I'll try and cover as much as possible. Feel free to post your questions online, and I'll take them at the end of the session, as most of you are muted. In case you think the questions you are something which you can't type and you might want to ask, please raise that up in the chat, and someone from us will try and get you unmuted to ask your questions as well. Next slide, Nadia, please. Okay, so quick agenda. We'll try and cover the survey, the importance of personalization, how it works, what kind of use cases we have solved, and of course benefits. And we will also have some offers for you guys, and Visha would take that over once I finish the technical presentation. Okay, so This is a brief survey. I'm sure most of you have read it. This is on AWS. This you can find it on Google, and of course AWS has published this as well. So a very quick overview of a market survey when we when random survey was done, and we spoke to a lot of customers, right? So I would say maximum of them, or 91% of customers, say they're more likely to shop with the brands they provide offers and recommendation. Right now, I think this has changed the world completely, what we were 5 years back and what we are today, right? um, I'm sure most of us do window shopping on online. It could be Lazada in Singapore, or Amazon, or in US, and let's say Flipkart in India, or Amazon in India as well. So when we essentially start doing most of these window shopping, and we essentially, I mean, trying to browse some items which we might like, but end of the day, we are all waiting for some offers, and that's true, right? That's an open secret. That's true for me as well, right? So when I go and purchase anything, I definitely would like to get an offer on top of that, right? So 91% of customers, right? So that means 100 customers who come onto a website, 90 of them would like to have an offer if they want to buy an X product. So that's very important, and the probability is very high there, right? The amount of investment we do is definitely high there. And 80% of them are frequent shoppers, only shop on the brands that personalize their experience. And this is very niche area right now. So we have done some use cases, some projects for our customers where we went and recommended very specifics in a very specific area, and people who are interested to buy them, right? And that definitely has helped us pump in the revenue as well. So it kind of helped us upsell what we wanted to sell, right? So that's definitely an important factor to consider, right? So just to sum up what typically is happening around the market and around the e-commerce industry is, of course, I would say 90, but in real world it's mostly 100, because most of the customers would like to have offers if they want to kind of purchase anything out of anything out of the e-commerce website. And the remaining most of them would just go ahead and buy based on the need. But again, as I said, it's definitely what is required in the current industry, at least. So we have to target the right customers and in the right place. And again, there could be disaster recommendations, and at the end of the day, this is all statistics behind the scenes. So do not expect it to work 100%. It will learn over a period of time. Think of it like a newborn baby, and as you go along, it kind of starts learning as you go along, right? So we cannot expect a newborn baby to start running on the day one, right? So think of any ML or any unsupervised machine learning. They are all typically newborn babies. So you might have to give some time and spend some time with it so that it understands. So just a note here, AWS Personalize is not a magic. So it's not like a genie which will come out and start solving the problems. It is an algorithm, state-of-the-art algorithm built. Again, we will have to train it with the right data so that you get the right recommendations. And that's very, very important point to know, because most of the customers I talk to, they say, okay, we will just go ahead and plug personalize to our engine, to our data, and then we expect everything to come out, right? So that's not going to happen. So we probably have to give little time and understand how the things work and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit about the market survey. Next slide, please. So importance, why this is important, and how it helps you in your organization, right? It definitely brings your customer close to you, right? Now, that's why it says we are spending the engagement. It helps you increase the engagement with your users. And that's something, we've been missing. The more you spend time with your users, the better your revenues will be, right? And that's a proportional we talk, and that's what we are seeing in the market, right? We are just not talking, we are seeing in this market. Most of the customers we've worked with in previously, I'll tell you what the difference was with the traditional analytics versus the modern analytics, right? Traditional was more concerning on your organization growth and increasing your balance book, making sure your PI, your profit and loss is typically in sync, and so on and so forth. But what happens in modern analytics, all what you've done in traditional will still survive, but you'll add a user story to it, right? So you will have probably have get users close to your products. You interact with users very often than what you used to do previously, right? So we increase that. How do we increase? We do a lot of campaign management. We release a lot of campaigns for users. We try to make sure we give them the best experiences, right? And that's what is improving. And to do all this, you need to make sure that you give the right campaign. So let's say I have a user customer base who is shopping only for, let's say a shoes or a sports items. I cannot go back and recommend or recommend him, let's say, something on photo frames or let's say food, right? I mean, I might not get revenue. I mean, I will, but I might not get as much as I expect. So that's very important to know. And it helps the customer easily, quickly discover new product. And that's very important point. And if you, what you see here is the magnifying lens. Now, this is something which we have, absolutely nailed down to a lot of our projects, where a lot of our customers, when they are shopping something, they actually are trying to look for something, but they can't find it, and suddenly we recommend it, and they are like literally bonged. So how come, my system read my mind? Now, so that's not again a magic, as I said. It's end of the day algorithm which is running behind the scene. And typically what happens is, we try to match, we rank based on the search, we try to give them the rank, and based on items they have searched, we try to recommend similar products which are fall in a similar cluster, right? That's what we essentially do, and that's how we start giving personalized recommendation. And of course, by doing all this, your balance book is going to increase. Your general ledger account will take a pump in, it'll start going in an up arrow, which by in turn increases your average revenue for the entire organization, right? Again, as I said, please note, again, I keep saying this a lot, because the moment I say this, I've spoken to a lot of my customers who say, okay, now I don't see any increase in my revenue in first quarter. It won't, it will not happen. It might, and if it happens, fantastic. But if it doesn't, don't feel down, because see, this is end of the day, as I said, behind the scene is purely maths and statistics, and it needs time. So probably you might start seeing fantastic results in 2 weeks, or you might see something in 1 quarter. But if not in 1 quarter, definitely in the second quarter, you'll start seeing the results, right? So ML needs a lot of patience, and especially algorithms like this, which are unsupervised, will need patience, but rest assured, you will start seeing the growth as soon as possible. And as we increase the time spending with our customers, you will start seeing a lot of requirements on the products, right? So that's definitely something which we ourselves have experienced, right? So the more you shop, I don't know how many of you have given random surveys of any e-commerce in the world, but they typically would like to know what kind of things you like to see on how or what kind of clustered product you want to see on. And typically this is done mostly to increase the user experience, and of course by doing that, your average revenue would also increase. So what you see, the average revenue is directly proportional to all three of them, right? How you interact with customers, how you engage them, and of course by giving them the right recommendations so that they buy. Because end of the day, if I recommend 10 things and I don't get anything out of it, there's no point in recommending anything, right? So that's very important point to note. And then of course how and what to recommend is very important. The cluster wise recommendation is extremely important. So that's something we'll all keep in mind as well. Next slide, please. So pretty straightforward how it works. This is straight out of the AWS website, but very straightforward. It requires three things. It requires your events, interactions, or sign up. And what you see is straightforward, readable, human understandable. Now, item metadata is something I would like to spend a little time on. Most of you might already know metadata. Metadata is data about the data. It tells you where is the data coming in, what is the details of an article, product, videos, and etc. It's not actually the data as a quote unquote the data, but it's a data about the data, right? It's end of the day a metadata requirement. Now, that's required because when I train any algorithm, I need to know what I'm training on, right? So I need to know the details about the article. I need to know what the video is all about. Just the information. That information is the metadata, right? And of course, the user metadata, right? That's very important. I need to know the age, the location, what's the latitude, what's the longitude, and so on and so forth. Now, that's also very important. And when we feed into Amazon Personalize, think of Personalize as a kitchen. You have many recipes there. You can pick up any recipe you want, and those recipes will give you, end of the day, some recommendations. Now, as I said, it's straightforward, right? So think of, as I said, think of it as more like um, a kitchen, right? You will have many recipes. So some of the recipes you will get is understanding what kind of things you'll try getting there, right? What kind of recommendations you'll get. Whether will you get a personalized recommendation, you have a ranking recommendations, you have related items recommendations, right? Now, on a high level, you have three main recipes, right? Now, of course, you can customize them. You can do a lot of things with Personalize. Again, as I said, we'll not go deep into this, but we'll try to kind of surface off the surface off and then give you more information. And you are always welcome to connect with us to get more details. So in an ideal world, I mean, you get three main recipes out of the box, right? So the first one is a user personalization recipe. Then you have personalized ranking recipe, and then you have related item recipe. So user personalization, as the name goes, it recommends, or it is used to recommending items for the user base. Now, your entire user base. And personalized ranking, as the name goes, it ranks the item for a particular given user. Now, if I am going and shopping and I shop 5 things, and for me, which is the most important based on my buying pattern, I rank these items for the user. So that's known as a personalized ranking recipe. You have something called as a related item recipe. As the name goes, based on what you have searched and what you've bought, the probability is calculated behind the scene. And based on your interest probability, we try to recommend the customer very similar products. For example, let's say a customer has bought an iPhone, let's say 7, and we've released Apple released iPhone 12 or 13. What we will go ahead and recommend the user that, hey, you like iPhone, so here's a recommendation. Why don't you exchange your 7 and buy this 12, and we give you X% of discount? That's a beautiful recommendation, right? Anyone would love to upgrade their phones or whatever, so on and so forth. So that's typically what happens in Personalize. So just to kind of repeat very quickly, you have 3 main recipes. You have recommendation 1, which is user personalization recipe. You have ranking to the users, which we see based on the items, we rank them. That's known as personalized ranking recipe. And then we relate the users based on their buying patterns, and that's also known as a related item recipes. Now, these are the 3, I would say, the pillars of Personalize, right? And of course, you're not bound. Of course, you have to use them as a part of, I'm sorry. Sorry for that. So, as I said, you can use them. Of course, you have to over a period of time, but you are welcome to customize some of these. Again, the underlying base or the structure or the foundation of algorithm is locked. You cannot go ahead and change the algorithm by itself, which is not possible. But you can consume the algorithm and customize it based in case there is a need for you to customize, right? But very, very rare that you will see those, because the algorithm built is definitely the state of the art algorithm, right? You probably might see the best recommendations, at least with this. And by the way, Amazon themselves use this within their e-commerce website. So you might now understand how good the algorithm is. Next slide, please. So again, as I said, inspired by your shopping trends. So inspired by shopping trends will fall into your recommended recipe, right? So we try to see and we understand your the customer's browsing pattern. Now, this is all done through cookie mechanism. I'm sure most of you will be aware of this. This is the old legacy method, but it's more used in the modernized fashion, right? Now, what essentially happen is we will try to capture the the browsing pattern from the user, right? So what kind of things he or she is liking the most, what kind of things he or she is shopping the most, right? And it's not one day, right? I mean, you just cannot, I mean, of course, in the current architectures and current technology, you see, I might have shopped something yesterday, and today when I log into the website, I already start getting recommendation. Now that's happening off late, right? That never used to happen a couple of years back. So traditional analytics has taken a shift from traditional to modern analytics. And what I see today is, if you shop something, I am going to use some of the recipes. I capture all your browsing activity and pattern. Then when you log in for the next time, I'm going to definitely pump in some recommendations. And rest assured, if I recommend you 10 items, I'm sure as a user behavior, you would definitely go and purchase two. That way you're increasing up your upsell and revenue as well. So that's typically what we do. And all this happens real time, by the way, right? So you don't have to kind of batch these jobs. All this happens real time. You get a REST endpoint. We call it as an API of Personalized Application Program Interface. You can just pump that into your application, and all these recommendations happen real time. And I say real time, it's real time, right? You don't even have to wait for some minutes. So it happens real time. So it's very important for you to understand that AWS Personalize comes with various factors. One, it's a state-of-the-art model. As you know, that Amazon themselves use it, and it's extremely accurate. Again, as I said, it will get accurate over a period of time. As I said, do not expect magic to happen when you start using Personalize. Two, it gives you very close probability recommendation. That means your probability of buying is very high. I'm not saying 100%, I'm saying very high. And that very high depends on the use case we work on. The very high could be 60%, or very high could be even 36%. I don't know, right? It all depends on what kind of problem we are solving. And three, you have out of the box recipes which you can use. Again, can be customized based on a use case, but your algorithm by itself is locked. You cannot go and change algorithm, nor you can go ahead and use the same algorithm to deploy your custom algorithm. So that's not possible, right? You have to end of the day use it, and it's pay as you go. You don't have to have any upfront fees you have to pay for using Personalize. And trust me, Personalize is very inexpensive or very cost effective. It's definitely not very expensive. And we have used it for many of our customers, and we have never heard any cost complaints so far in last 2 years, right? Or say 1.5 years. And it's very good. And as I say, pay as you go. When you hit the API and you take a recommendation, only for that time you kind of get paid, right? And of course, for the base infrastructure, which is not very expensive as well. Next slide, please. So this is something which we spoke about, related items recipe. Now, what you see on the top is the user has liked this. He's never purchased it, but right, this is what I do, and most of us do, right? When I like something, I try and add it to the cart, or I try to stay on this page for a longer time because I like that item and I'm trying to see what all features are there. Now, that's a probability of that is high that I will buy this, or I may definitely not buy it. Maybe I have just forgotten to close this page, and that's also a possibility, right? You also have to think of the edge cases, right? Now, when I keep this web page open and I have not gone ahead, there are two possibilities. One, I've liked the product, I'm trying to explore something in other websites, one probability. Two, I did not like it, but I forgot to close the page, or maybe I've just gone for a break. I don't know, right? So you might or might like this, but again, as I said, it all depends on your browsing pattern. Now, again, at least the user behavior we have seen with the data is, most of them, if they like it, they stay here, or they can just close it off. And at least that's the behavior we have seen. That's a pattern we have seen. Again, that pattern could be a shift over a period of time. We don't know. We just have to wait for the data to arrive. Now, when we lock in the product, when we say that, okay, the probability is very high for the user to buy this, why don't we recommend something similar item for user? Maybe he or she can pick up something more from here. Maybe the price is a little expensive, but do I have something similar to what I have in this in the bottom, right? So maybe let's say this product is $10 example, and maybe I have a very similar product but from a different brand, maybe giving it for $7.5. So I will definitely save them the match of these item versus that item which was $7.5. The references and all the internal functionalities are same, then why don't I just go ahead and buy the 7.5? So end of the day, we are helping the customer to buy something what they like, also by not shelling out a lot of money. So that's what we call it as an an interesting item classification recipe as well. Um, quote unquote, what Personalize does is, I'm sure you might have kind of got a feeling of what it does and what all it can do, right? So there's a lot of depth to it, and then you can do a lot, and you can actually do a lot of stuff. You can pump in a lot of hyper personalized recommendation. You can do a latitude, longitude, and you can actually do, what you can do is especially go ahead and do a lot of personalized geospatial recommendations. Now, that's a very niche use case. We've helped with a customer, a large fintech customer in ASEAN, where they had a lot of customers spread across the region. So we were clustering the customer based on the lats and longs, and then we used to send them personalized recommendation only specific to that area, right? So that has also helped the company grow on the revenue. So next slide. Next slide. This is again the same what we saw. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. So again, the benefits about this is, again, as I said, and I've been always saying, it's very unique and state of the art for every customer depending on the interest. Now, this is very, very interesting point to see, right? It's a unique personalization for every customer depending on their interest, right? We don't do a bunch recommendation or one-shot recommendation. That's why we call it hyper personalized recommendation. So I like watch, I get recommendation of watch. You like shirt, you get recommendation of shirt. She likes, let's say, cosmetic, she gets a recommendation of cosmetic. So I don't get a recommendation of cosmetic, nor she's going to get a recommendation of a phone. That doesn't work that way, right? It's very unique and very hyper personalized. You always make sure AWS personalization balances between your actual relevant or actual new and your relevant items. That's very important in this algorithm, which makes it stand out by comparing to other vendors, right? It differentiates, and it won't give you too many options. It gives you few options which you can pick and buy stuffs, right? That's why that's most important between relevant and exploring. Most important, data privacy. Your data is definitely secure. There's no question of data being explored or given out. It's high on security. We have used the data on PII, which is personal information, identity information. Give me 1 second, please. Sorry, I had to switch on my Raptor. So data is definitely one of the most important piece here. It is very secure, and your data is definitely, not exposed. Or we have worked on PII data, personal identity information, where we have done one-side masking and have used personalization. We still are able to see some fantastic results as well, right? Delivery of high quality recommendation. New user handles cold start issues. Again, something very depth to understand on this topic, but in nutshell, what this Personalize does, gives you a very quality recommendation, which I explained you a while ago, and it also handles the new features and new items which come in very neatly, right? So you don't have to really bother about how things will happen. And event-based criteria, item-based recommendation, that's something is something very nice in this feature as well. And it's a straight away implementation. You can implement it through a console. You can implement through your own SDK. If you have a Python SDK or Java or any SDK, you can also implement through a command line interface. You have 3 options to implement. Very easy to implement. It's probably a 4-step implementation process, approximately, I believe. I think 4 to 5 steps, and your API is out for your recommendation on your app. Again, as I said, it's not a magic. You probably have to make sure your data is prepared, because Personalize expects your data to be in a specific format. So you have to make sure we spend time preparing the data in that format so that you get your recommendations and in a way you're expecting it to be. Next slide, please. Right. So that's what I wanted to cover from the technical. Of course, we let you go with some offers. If you are interested to know more about, you want to do about this, you have some offers. I let Visha talk about it, and feel free to pump in your questions if you have. Happy to answer them. Visha, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandeep. Well, hope it was insightful for everyone, and you were able to draw some insights. And do let us know how, if you have any questions, please post them in the chat board. And simultaneously, here is an offer that we would love to extend to all of you. Please reach out to us in case you're interested and you want to know more about it. We will be more than happy to share more details. Now, what you get is once you connect with us, you will get 2 months 2 months subscription absolutely for free. You know, to our of course AI powered smart chatbot for your business. So let's connect and let's build more from there. I see we are from here. What we can do is we can move into questions and answers, and please keep your questions and answers flowing in so that we can keep the session continue to be a little more engaged. Um, so Sandeep, I guess this question is for you. The question is from Dominic. What kind of data do I have to provide?
Okay, so great question, Dominic. So data is definitely, as I said, we would want to have your definitely the data. What the two kinds of, I would say. Let me break that question into more simpler way, right? So there's in a nutshell, what you have to give is your user activity data, which typically is an event data, how your user is interacting. I'm sure you're capturing the user interaction data on your website or application or phone app or wherever you are capturing them. So we need that data definitely, because that's where we calculate our probability score of how the pattern is. Now, this data includes many things, like it can include the click, the buy, the watch, the cart, and so on and so forth, right? So maybe I've clicked on something, you're capturing those click. You have bought something, you're capturing that as a transaction. You're watching something is captured as an ideal time on the website, and your add to shopping is captured to your cart data, right? So we will need this data definitely for sure. And we will need the catalog of the data. For example, what do you as a company sell, right? So do you have a catalog of items you sell? And of course the user data, which is their demographic, their gender, their age, and of course um, the demographic, the gender, the age is kind of optional. You can still think this as an optional, but it's good to have it. It's not must to have, but user activity and catalog is must to have data.
Thank you, Sandeep. Dominic, I hope that answers your question. In case you have a follow-up question, please post it. And in the meanwhile, we'll wait for a few more questions. All right. Um, all right. We have a question from Pooja. The question is, what is the average implementation timeline for AWS Personalize?
Okay, so it depends. We can go from anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Depends on the use case. But yeah, you will start seeing results in roughly 3 weeks from the day of sign up.
I hope that answers your question, Pooja. Thank you, Pooja, for the question. Anyone else? I mean, not a question, but if you want to share your thoughts around it, or if you have any comments about the session, please feel free to share. All right, we do have a question. So, how to apply Amazon personalized recommendations to my business application? Sandeep, would you like to answer that question?
Um, yeah, so business application, I mean, I'm assuming, not sure what your application is, but if you kind of pass these criteria of having your user stream data or click data or transaction data, and if your application is capturing that data as a requirement, then you can apply. But you usually need to maybe we'll have to talk offline and understand what your application is and what you're trying to recommend to users, what you're trying to personalize to users. So it all depends on how your application is. But long question, long short answer is yes, you can apply your personalize on, you know, on your application. Again, as I said, it depends on what you're trying to recommend, so we'll have to maybe catch up offline to see what it is. Feel free to write to us, and one of our experts will, or I will connect with you and see how we can apply personalize on your application. Hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Sandeep. Sandeep, I have a question, and the question is there a right size of the data for Amazon Personalize?
And not really. We see this is a scale-up algorithm, or an AWS definitely has capability of writing them big data. So we don't say that you need to have 1 GB or 2 GB or 3 GB. So it's a scalable platform. You can have as much as data you want, and more the data, better the algorithm will perform.
All right, thank you. Now we're getting a few more questions. The next question is, how do I apply or export Amazon personalized recommendations to my business workflows or application?
Okay, this is fantastic question. So um, once you apply personalize, you get an API. It's known as a recommendation API. You just consume that API from your application. Now, consumptions can be done either through whatever application you have developed. Let's assume that you have a Node.js application. I'm taking an example, and my personalize is going to give you a recommendation API link. So you're going to just consume that API on a Node.js through Boto 3 library. And that's about it. So I'm sorry, Boto 3 for Python, but Node.js can consume it through an API interface. And then you'll start seeing those recommendations on top of your websites.
Okay, all
I see
right.
another question from Christina. How
Yes,
secure is my data? So
right.
as I said, Christina, this is used by Amazon themselves. So that means you can see how much security it will be. Your data is definitely very secure. That is rest assured, and that's given in writing from AWS that your data is never going out. You can apply more security on top of it by using AWS KMS, which is known as Key Managed Service, where you can encrypt your data in transit and at rest, making sure nobody is going to come and hack in your data. We built a governance model on top of your data, and that governance model is very, very, I would say, aggregated up till the row to a column level. So that kind of a security we can apply on top of AWS.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Christina. We have one more question. How does Amazon personalized campaign score works?
Campaign score is again, I would uh, take this question on a very high level because this requires a lot of depth understanding of the tool itself. Campaign scoring works on various ways. One, definitely how the design is happening, how you are feeding in the data, and scores depends on the probability, right? So, for example, how? Okay, I'll take this first question and then I'll take your second question. Okay, so once you have let's say a specific campaign which you want to run, right? So what you essentially want to do is you want to, let's say, perform a very unique or a special action on top of your entire data, or you want to do some customized ranking and you want to do your entire, I would say, personalize your entire results, right? So for that, we have something called as it's a recurring neural network. So we have an HRNN, you have cold start recipe, you have personalized HRNN recipes. Now these are typically, I would say, a personalized or customized recipe where a lot of our customers use. And what we typically do in this case is we use these campaigns when we are designing our recipe. We call it as a new campaign recipe in Personalize. We just use those solution and we try to pump it onto a new campaign and see how it's working. Again, we do some trial and error, but end of the day, we will try to see your item ID versus the score, probability score of that recommendation, and we come back with a score. And that score is typically a mathematical formula which is exponentials of your nth dimension and give you a summation of that score. So that typically brings back your personalized recommendation, or in quote unquote, they we call it in Amazon language as get personalized ranking API algorithm. So that's how it works when you want to do a campaign, personalized campaign. How does the algorithm work for non-signed up customers? I don't think you can use it outside AWS, at least with my knowledge, but I can double check that. But I'm sure that you have to be a signed up customer with AWS to use the algorithm. But I'll double check if there's somebody who is outside AWS can use it. But at least my first answer is no, but I'll double check that and come back to you.
Thank you, Sandeep. Okay, there are more questions coming in, it seems. Oh, okay. All right. I hope, some of you got some clarity to your questions. Please keep the questions coming in. And if you have any more thoughts, we are here for another couple of minutes to help you, get answers to all your questions. In the meanwhile, in case if you have any questions about the offer that we have extended, please do reach out to us separately. Okay, so once again, you get a 2 months free subscription to a AI-powered smart chatbot for your business. All that you have to do is just come connect with us, and you can grab the offer and get more details into it. So feel free to connect with us anytime.
All right, great. So it's nice talking to you, all of you. As Visha said, feel free to connect with us. Happy to get on a call, understand your use case, and give you some great offers. Of course, we'll work together and see if to try and solve some real use cases, and help you, extend that recommendation back to your user community, and try and connect to your users as close as possible to indirectly increase the revenue up on the company. So fantastic talking to all of you. Have a good day ahead, a good weekend when you're there, and take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Do reach out to us for any thoughts, questions, or any ideas that you would want from us, or any solution recommendation that you would want from our experts. We are happy. We are happy to help. Yeah. Have a good day ahead.